expert in computer science, Sekalema Hamza. Please say salam to the viewership.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our dear viewers, we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us our intention in this entire focus that we are trying to make, calling on to the Muslims to respond positively to the issue of science and technology.
Oh, thank you very much. Dear viewer, today is the 29th of Dhul Hajj. The year is 1444, corresponding to the 17th of July 2023. The date 29th Dhul Hajj should help you remember that we have only a day or two to the end of the Islamic calendar, and being a session of science and technology, Brother Sekalema, kindly throw a word or two to the viewership on the end of the year of the Islamic calendar.
The end of the year?
Yes, please.
In terms of science and technology in general?
In general terms, before we can go into that topic.
Well, within the Islamic system, we don't necessarily look a lot at whether it is end of year or month, because usually the seasons are affected mainly by months and not necessarily by years, because Ramadan, the fasting is determined by the entry of the month. Then Hajj is also determined by the entry of the month of Hajj. So we don't have any particular things that come with the year end. But in life, you tend to have a way of setting your goals per period. Meaning when the year is starting, that's the most ideal time when you're supposed to essentially set targets. You indicate, I will try to memorize 10 surahs of the Quran. So it's more ideal at the start of the year as compared to setting it somewhere in the middle. So with the year starting, I think it is important that someone establishes some simple objectives that are achievable, and that becomes their goal for that year.
Oh, thank you very much. So dear viewer, with that remark, we want to wish you a happy new Islamic year that should be starting tomorrow, the day next. But like the issue is not ending the year, but what objectives do you have for the upcoming year, inshallah? So, Brother Sekalema, going back to our topic of science and technology in Islam.
Yes.
Today we are looking at the halal science career options.
Yes.
For starters, what do we mean by halal, and to a Muslim out there who is just come from their lunch, it is halal?
So last week we were trying to show how the Muslims can also participate essentially in this industry. The entire effort that we are on is to call our Muslim brothers and sisters to give this area some more effort. So for today we are trying to expand that call by saying, yes, we do vary in our abilities, we do vary in our knowledge areas. So it's not that when we say science, it is some big balloon where everyone fits. The science domain is divided into many areas. So that's why today we thought it's important that we highlight some of the options that a person has. In case a person has really set their knee and said, it's time for science, well, where can they really do their science in particular?
Yes, please.
So, like anything that we do within our Islamic system, we emphasize halal.
Halal.
You are going to eat, you begin with, is it halal? You are going to sleep, are you doing it in a way that is halal? So halal is what governs our entire lives as Muslims, and therefore even when we are deciding what to do with our time, be it we are in a general domain like science, we still have to look at halal. So in terms of careers, the Sharia would demand that particular activity you are going to do should be halal in its origin. Meaning, for example, you cannot say you are going to do your prostitution in a halal way. In that case, it does not work, because the activity itself, which you are saying you are going to do, is from its foundation prohibited. So there is no way you can try to make it halal, because the action itself is prohibited. You will not rear prohibited animals, like for example pigs, and you say you are trying to find a halal way of rearing the pigs. It does not work like that. So meaning anything that we decide to do in our science domain, the various areas we shall look at, it is supposed to be in its origin halal as an activity. Then the second condition is whatever you do in that halal activity of yours should not again break some new Islamic laws. For example, we have a general idea or a general principle that comes out of a hadith, la darara wala dirara, meaning there should never occur harming oneself, and there should never occur harming others in that activity that you do. Meaning you have decided to become a medical doctor. That is what you are doing. So it is halal from day one. But what you do as a medical doctor can very easily turn that particular activity of yours into what is prohibited. For example, you are stealing organs from people. That's what you are using your skill for. Instead of using it to do transplants that save life, you are instead putting people into a state of anesthesia and you steal their organs. So in that case, although the action itself is originally halal, what you do in there can become haram. Or you may do a job where you are forced to display your nakedness to people. So since nakedness display is prohibited, even if the action itself that you are undertaking is halal in its origin, this additional activity that you are doing that is prohibited renders that particular focus haram, and a host of other things. So we are saying it should be halal in its origin, and it should also be halal in the way you do it. There should never occur objectable actions within that career that you are looking at.
Thank you very much. So halal in origin, meaning the Quran
does not prohibit
that
either the Quran or the hadith
of
the Prophet do not prohibit that action that you are doing.
Okay. Actually, it reminds me, I was attending some lecture 2 days ago in one of the Scandinavian countries. You know those countries, their welfare is so high that almost everyone can have their basic needs.
Definitely.
Now it is said that these people haven't reached a level of achievement. They even want to apply. Actually, they were committing suicide because they think they have nothing more to work for. Now it reached a level where the government now says, I think we need to legalize even
the committing of suicide.
And so
as a way of one
trying to regulate
the world, they no longer see value in it.
So that all should govern a Muslim, that something should be halal and shouldn't contravene the established principles.
So like you have said, you cannot make
suicide halal,
because the taking of life is not allowed. Even if you may justify and say you see this person as having pain, for example, for diseases like cancer, where the person has a death guarantee, but they are having a lot of pain, some people say, why don't we allow this person to die and leave this painful situation? So that is
does remind me of the seer of our Messenger Muhammad, where the Sahaba participated in one of the engagements with the oppressors, and he was wounded, but out of too much pain, he had to kill himself with a spear, and the Messenger say that one is a candidate for hell, and it was really painful. But it all tells you that the Sharia and the Islamic principles on different aspects of our religion should really govern us. So having appreciated the concept of halal and how it guides the science options we have, I kindly now take us through what are some of the halal science career options that we can have at our display.
Okay, now the first one for our that would really appeal to a society like Uganda would be agriculture. Agriculture is a mainstream science. Unfortunately here, because we do it informally, even the last village, for as long as there is some land, people go and dig around and they plant whatever they plant.
See our person in the camera has put for us something we can maybe.
So agriculture is a very important domain of science for us, because for us as Ugandans, this is something where we have an advantage
Yes, please.
over other countries.
Mm.
Uganda is a country that has arable land nearly the entire
The entire
country.
Mm.
Uganda is a place that has water nearly everywhere, apart from the semi-arid places like Karamoja and some of the others. Otherwise, you'll find agriculture is something you can do. Okay. And there are countries that survive nearly all entirely on agriculture. The Scandinavians you are talking about, then the Denmark,
Finland, Sweden,
and these others like Holland or Netherlands. For them, they take their agriculture as something very principal. So the video we are watching here, you will see that they show us some simple technologies that people develop in order to make their agriculture more productive. So why we are calling people to join this sector and come in as innovators is that the way we are doing it in Uganda, we simply do just the basic. Get a hoe, go and dig, plant every time.
We call it rudimentary.
Yet technology. There are simple tools, like you can see what this man is doing, essentially trying to semi-automate the planting exercise. So instead of you relying on a hoe and you just make a very small garden, you can achieve even a whole acre of planting just by making the planting to be done with a simple machine. It doesn't need to be very complicated. Okay. And this is what we are saying. So these innovations require people that have a science background to look at what is the problem. For example, these ones are digging, but they are not using a simple hoe. They sit down and say, what if I create this machine? It has multiple prongs. I simply keep pushing it into the ground, then I lift it up, and it does nearly the same action as what a tractor would do. So a machine like this does not need any fuel, and it does nearly the same function as what would be the job of a tractor. Of course, one may say, maybe these people's soil is a bit soft, etc. But that is an innovation. If you have very hard soil, you have to make some modifications to your machines. But we are saying, if we have as many people with a scientific mind trying to look at this entire exercise of agriculture, figuring out how do we make it better, how do we make it easier, how do we improve productivity, that would be something that we should be able to benefit from. Okay. So this one is something like what would be the tractor. On a tractor we attach something to plow. In other places in Uganda they attach a plow to an animal.
Ox plow, we call it ox plow.
The animal drags the plow. But here they are making it simple. You simply put some wheels on it and you push it as a person. So
and I can see it's like an arid area.
Exactly. It is not necessarily a very wet area. And this person is able to achieve with a simple machine like that. So we are saying appropriate technology, because whenever you make it more expensive, then it becomes untenable. So we are accommodating both our restriction in terms of resources and our restriction in terms of capital or whatever a person may want to invest. But these are simple tools, but you find we don't have them here. Can you imagine? We don't even have a tool for sorting rice.
Yeah, I saw it is manually sorted.
You imagine, rice sorting is a problem that we have here in Uganda.
Okay, you have rice, beans, peanuts. You're paid per basin you sort.
Exactly. And some of these may even be a bit high. Actually, for rice, in fact all of them, the stones are usually smaller than the grains of what you are sorting. Meaning if I'm sorting rice, usually the stones are far smaller than the rice. So you should be able to easily find a way of filtering out the stones. But you'll find here the principle of sorting rice. Person sits and begins to move that rice in a very small way.
Rudimentary way.
So because there's no one really putting some scientific mind to this problem and saying, but how can we speed up this process? Can't a person just come with their kilo of rice, pour it into some machine, do some rotations, and in the end you have your rice sorted. The stones will fall one side, and so these are the kinds of things that we should be able to do. So here, this one's cutting grass for animals. So all they do in this case, they are attaching a motor to the other wheel that does the cutting. So instead of you doing it manually with a panga and you get tired very fast, you simply have something like that.
Oh, thank you very much. I can see a lot of innovative.
So it's not
It's
very
innovative.
expensive
It's not
technology,
expensive.
and it's not something from like very far off. It is just a simple machine, but it allows you to perform a lot of work and a lot of achievement without necessarily putting in a lot of effort.
So
You may find the other one is just a small electric motor.
yes.
In case you don't have electricity, you can see they replace with just a simple bicycle structured object.
Equipment.
In the end, the person is able to run their machine without necessarily requiring electricity, nor requiring fuel, because those are the things people complain about. We don't
Actually,
have
what is even interesting, on the look of things, it's like they even made those equipment themselves. They didn't.
So for them, the issue of innovating and making life work easier for yourself is something
It's
that
like more of
is
a family endeavor.
yes, it is
They
made
didn't
into something everyone should be able to think of and do.
Now with Uganda, today all of us want to work in the offices. I think it's needed a divided effort to see that people.
So if we can dedicate time to the agricultural sector and put intellectual muscle to some of these problems. You see the way this man is doing his planting. He pours the grains, whatever he's planting, the seeds into that large container. Now these protrusion you are seeing, they are the ones that make a hole in the ground.
Okay.
Then in the end, it makes a hole and drops the seeds and also covers.
Oh, okay, yes.
So he simply drives the thing around and he's able to do the planting.
I see.
That would require a lot of manual work, that would make you tired. So in that case, without tractors, and it is because sometime back the government had put up facilities like tractors for people to access and try and improve productivity. Because actually it's the focus of the government,
yes,
avoiding subsistence
agriculture.
But for as long as the tools that we use make it a requirement that you put in a lot of effort in order to cover ground
and resources,
it will be very hard to move from subsistence. You can only move from subsistence when a person is able to achieve a large digging area or a large farm area without necessarily having to put in either too much capital or too much of technology. In case you are going to use machines that require importation, etc., it is a big problem. But these are tools that can be harnessed and used. So that is within the agriculture domain. And agriculture, we are talking of both the plants and also the animal husbandry.
Maybe before we go to the second field,
yes,
because since agriculture is the backbone of our economy,
definitely.
What message would you give to the graduates out there who we have exhausted? Most of our parents have sold the land. Actually, from you look at the tuition from second, I can even say nursery to primary, secondary, university. By the time somebody reaches university, they have really exhausted all the land they have and resources. So what message would you give to the graduates and the parent out there who would wish to go into agriculture, but they don't have resources and
now I think for our case here,
yes, please,
it is very difficult for one to totally run out of land.
In Uganda?
Now, for example, for me, I come from
Kalungu, yes.
Chamliwa in particular. Now, in that Chamliwa place, our family members have a lot of land. Now, me in particular, I don't have even a small piece there.
But you're in Kampala, where you?
But I'm seated here in Kampala, but I have many relatives there that have pieces of land they don't even use. And I believe that is the scenario you'll find in many of us.
Many of our families.
So it is very possible that even if you don't have land in particular as an individual, you can be able to acquire. We can acquire either by request. For example, you may find the person has a bushy area, they are not really using it. Like we have said, it's very difficult to do your agriculture here. You can't dig an entire acre unless you put in a lot of money. And if this person is incapacitated in terms of capital, there's no way they can farm a large piece of land. So many times you find it's just bush.
Yes.
So if you come and tell this person, now let me use this bush, the person will not really resist because already they are not using that particular piece of land.
Another option is hiring.
The other one is you hire. You simply, you can even hire on the basis of what will come out of the soil. So you could say, I'm planting maize 2 acres.
Mm.
So we shall divide half or a quarter to 3 quarters. So the person will see that it is a logical thing. Because already, like we have said, many times this land is not being optimally used.
But this graduate was just moved out of IU Makerere Chambogo.
Now that is the other challenge.
Is it a question of attitude? What we need to address something, because
that is the other challenge.
Somebody left 80 miles to come to Kampala to study, and then you're telling them with a degree, next thing to do is go back to.
For me, I think that attitude is something which is not correct, and we should discourage people from having that attitude of the utopian and the elitist way of looking at income.
Mm-hmm.
The understanding of income is that for as long as you have acquired 10,000 shillings.
10,000 shillings, yes.
The power of that 10,000 shilling does not diminish because you got it out of a garden or you got it out of
vending things.
For as long as we maintain our halal requirement, you'll be able to pay fees for your child, while another person that is busy wasting time trying to stay urban is not having something to eat. So we are insisting that please do not waste your time trying to appear elitist. Once you are poor, that elitist attitude has no value. A person that has slept hungry, whether you are in a tie or etc., it has no meaning. So what we should emphasize is, can I earn a living legally? So instead of wasting time here in the center of town, if I can go out there and I work better than the villager, because sometimes what people tend to compare, you think that when you go into my Kalungu to participate in agriculture, you don't go there and behave like this Kalungu resident
who has not been to
for you have contacts, you have studied with the people. Actually, you may find, if, for example, in case you are growing something like matoke,
yes,
you may find for you, just out of the contacts of people that you have studied with and etc., you have even capacity to bring this matoke that has already been ordered. So,
and with social media that is at our disposal,
you have a greater potential, because you are not doing the rudimentary action itself. You are able to produce. You have a series of people that you can contact and they make pre-orders. So the way you run that activity should be benefiting out of this entire education that you acquired. Because if social media is available as a marketing tool, then you use it and behave better than this person that would have originally stayed and not acquired the education. So let's expand the essence of education beyond just mere acquiring a piece of paper, then trying to look for a job.
Maybe before we wind it up, of late we have so many graduates, works for 1 to 3 months, saves some money, and then buys land, 50 by 100 acres, and leaves it idle, waiting to construct. So I think they have an option of agriculture, and with the science and technology options that we've shared, they can productively use that land as they're waiting to
acquire the resources. Actually, the land may even help itself by generating the money needed to do the construction. Although that's maybe another area, possibly someone will discuss issues of financial literacy. Many times we follow just our hearts regarding the way we utilize our money. We have just graduated, we don't have a stable passive income, but we are striving to inject 40-50 million into a house that we are going to just sleep in. Now, many people that advise on issues of finances don't encourage you to move your money into a static resource without necessarily building your capacity to live without working. So they emphasize, don't make your money static unless you have built capacity to earn without working, because that's what is called passive income. So instead of sitting this money there, 40-50 M, allow it to grow, because as it grows, it does not disappear, but it keeps growing until such a point where you are able to survive. And agriculture, like we are saying, you can go in there, do it in a more productive way and be able to move forward.
Okay, our dear viewer, you're watching the Alhidaayah show on Salam Television, and on Mondays we are here always discussing a range of issues to do with Islamic guidance on the different topics, hence the name Alhidaayah. So we've been looking at science and technology for the past 3 episodes, and today we are looking at the halal science options. We've started with agriculture, which we've indicated that if we can blend into some basic science and technological innovations and inventions, you could have a better return on output, or sorry, return on investment, and on the input that you would have made. So, Brother Sekale Mahamza,
Yes.
aside from agriculture, which are the other halal options, science options we can look at as we are trying to run to the top of the hour?
So another area would be fisheries. Fisheries is here classified as part of agriculture.
Fisheries, yes.
Here in Uganda.
Uganda.
But we are separating it out mainly because it is a bit different from the conventional, put something into the garden, pull it out and sell.
Yes, please.
Now fish is something demanded here in Uganda. There is a place I went to, I think it is the Wildlife Education Center in the Entebbe. What used to be the zoo, I think they call it Wildlife Education Center. The whole fish there, fried, is a clean 40,000.
40,000. Actually, for us who consume on a subsistence level,
Yes.
one, I don't know whether they call it piece, goes for between 7 to 10,000.
So imagine that is the price of fish. Fish can be acquired naturally from the lake, or you can be able to keep it in a pond,
Which is called fish farming.
which is called fish farming. Now, all these are science areas because fish farming is a technical thing. It's not all about just dumping the fish in the water and you wait for them to grow. No, it is a science that you have to master and know how do the fish grow, how do they feed, how do they etc. And the good thing, these domains that we are recommending, they are not very complicated things that require a lot of prerequisite knowledge, etc. Simple procedures that are scientific in nature, and you can be able to benefit out of them. So imagine a scenario where you are selling fish just out of your pond. Granted, it requires some input and etc. But you'll find you can still be able to do this activity without requiring too much of capital. And nowadays, the government is even promoting parish development model.
This is one of the areas.
Although I don't know whether they would give you money for that, as if they are targeting the very last rank.
Actually, I think I was reading the news.
Is
it Bushenyi local government declared for them they don't have poor people to benefit
they are
from
not right. Here in Uganda, it's not distributed like achieved.
Anyway, I think apart from fish farming, which other areas can we look at?
So you could go into the medical domain. Medical domain, you have nursing.
That's mainstream science now, I guess.
Nursing, and you have the nursing midwifery, and then you have the mainstream medicine, the parts that the doctors do. So that area will also continue to grow. For as long as there are human beings around, you will find that that area is there. Of course, some of these they require that you study a professional course, and in some cases it requires some good money. But you should be able to go into that area because of the obvious things that come out of it.
Maybe let's give a word of encouragement or message to the parents and our schools out there, because of late we have people are studying medicine, but with the saga around the internship doctor placement, what message would you give them? Because it's like they're saying we are studying, but
okay, now the medical students have I think up to now not been funding their own internship. So what they would do, the government would essentially do the entire funding, because they were providing a service in the hospital. Because you'll find the number of doctors is far smaller than the number of citizens. So they were utilizing these internees, so they would give them some allowances and etc. So time comes when the government is not having enough resources. But they didn't prohibit the internees from running the internship. All they said is if you have
the money, you can
fund yourself, then you go ahead and fund yourself. Now, of course, some of the medical students refused, and they made it appear like they have a right to be funded by the government. But for me, I don't think that position is necessarily correct, because all the other students do internships and they fund themselves. They fund their internships. Of course, they are shorter and maybe less intense than the MBCHB and the other internship But I think it would not be good for a parent that has already spent this very large amount of money that they pay for the medical course to fail at that point where the student is remaining with around 1 year. So you do squeeze yourself and just complete the cycle. Although we of course encourage the government to come up to the table and do the needful. Because remember, like we have said, these students are actually the ones that man a big number of the positions that would be manned by qualified medical doctors.
Actually,
so since they provide that service, there is need to help out. But in case the money is declared as not there, then you would have to follow alternative options.
Actually, I was also attending one career guidance session, and there was a doctor working with the Ministry of Health saying today we put a lot of focus on nursing and medicine, but also have what we call the paramedical fields, the lab, the orthopedics, support officials and the rest. So perhaps we can also encourage our Muslims out there
go into those areas.
Because that medical health, the health practitioner was saying, for one doctor, you need about 7-8 people to support
this individual.
You have a nurse, you have a midwife, you have this and this and this, but many times we put our attention and focus on
only on this medic.
Yeah, so there are other fields as well. So then apart from agriculture, fish farming, medicine and nursing, do you have any other fields that we can?
Now you realize that we can also promote, it is called, the technical term is pharmacognosy. Pharmacognosy is where you extract medical or medicine from plants. What people call herbs here, or herbal. Now when you talk about herbal, the first idea that comes to the mind of a Ugandan is some informal place where things are put in a bottle and it is. Of course, the government is not putting in enough effort to regulate that sector, because you imagine these normal pharmaceutical drugs have to go through the NDA, and the conditions are really very tough. But this person calling himself herbal research is not subjected to a lot of these stringent conditions. Because if you walk into their stores, you'll find there are things they are distributing for people to take directly. It's not like it's going to be cooked somewhere and improved. So they do it very informally. One person was even saying for him, he got it from some of his grannies.
That he got that skill of mixing there.
He even went ahead to say that before he gets medicine from a tree, he begins by asking the tree for medicine, what he called okusaba omuti eddagala. Now you can see that that person is really going off the rail. This herb is having medical properties, and that is what is healing people. It's a well-known area.
Actually, of late I'm seeing, is it some lecturers at the Department of Chemistry, Makerere, and I think also botany and zoology, they are encouraging people to do what you call
pharmacognosy.
There's actually, it's called ethnobotany, something like that, and that's where this Our Lady, the one that passed on, Hajat Aisha of Organic, she also had that background, and so there was a revolution in that.
Exactly. You can see that when she came, because she had this scientific background and was not doing it merely as a repetition of what she has been told, she made it way better, more organized, with a better manufacturing process. Because manufacturing is a complicated process. Because imagine you find a person has stocked an entire shop full of all these things that people are supposed to drink. Now you would wonder, how did this person prepare this? Did he really use a small saucepan and put there some little water and did it 1,000 times? No. So you'll find, because the sector is very informal, some of the problems that are there are actually a very big problem. You'll find people are suffering from the hygienic element that comes out of very bad manufacturing process. Yes, you've gone in to cure yourself of a certain ailment, but because this material you are taking has not been prepared according to really good hygienic standard, it becomes a problem. So we are saying, let people go into that domain.
Okay.
Enter into that area. The plants are already there. Some of them are even internationally documented. Find a way of processing For example, instead of something drinkable which is difficult to keep, and it is, you could possibly see how you can do a powder for it, and it is. And the good thing, some of these things the Chinese have made them very simple. Buying machines for turning what would be a herb into powder, you may find the machines actually not very expensive, and you can be able to achieve a lot of good out of it.
Okay, I think we have a large pool of fields in the science domain that we can engage in as Muslims, but our time always is not on our side.
Yes.
And I was so much eager to hear in the ICT domain. And
that one we need to talk about.
I think it will require a full program.
Okay.
So inshallah, we thank you very much for sharing with us the different, some of the halal science career fields that we can take on as Muslims. So dear viewer, today we are looking at the halal science career options that you can look forward to as a Muslim, because our intention and objective is to see how we revolutionize and inspire the Muslim out there to think outside the box and utilize science and technology in their different fields of life. We thank very much our guest, Mr. Sekaleme Hamza, who is a lecturer at the Islamic University in Uganda, Kampala campus, and would appreciate the feedback you always give us, and continue sending that feedback on the different social media platforms of Salam Television and Next Media Able system, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We'll so much appreciate your contributions. Otherwise, for today, we want to say you are a very good viewer. We just pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us and enables us to utilize the message and information that has been shared with us. Till next time, I remain Muhammad Sekalala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Eno ye Salam TV. Kikkakatako okunoonya okumanya, era wano ku Salam TV tukuleetera emisomo nga tuyita mu pulogulaamu za ddaawa ez'enjawulo. Ku Monday, baswahaba oyiga ebikwata ku bulamu bw'abaswahaba ab'enjawulo, naawe osobola okukola nga bwe baakolanga.
Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam yagamba nti nno bano baswahaba bange tekisaanidde kubeera nti n'omuntu yenna ayogera ekigambo ekiyinza okubeera nti no bakibeesittaze oba okubakkakkanya oba okubeera nti no kibatyoboola.
Olwo ku Lwokubiri tukuleetera abakyala abazira. Wano tutunuulira abakyala ab'enkizo mu ddiini y'Obusiraamu, tusobole okuyiga ku ebyo ebyabafuula ab'enkizo.
Omukyala yenna